A contemporary and close relative of the offensive powerhouse Rampardos, Bastiodon yet took on a completely different strategy in the prehistoric struggle for survival: total defense. With a huge head frill made of massive bone and a sturdy armored hide, the Pokémon became a near impenetrable fortress in front of its enemies. The armor consisted of smooth ossified scales which were further reinforced with a biomineral very similar to that found in modern steel types, and was especially strong around the head and frill, though it also extended towards the Pokémon's back and limbs, leaving only the belly and neck vulnerable. Healed claw and tooth markings on the frills and horns of many fossils prove that Bastiodon was very capable of holding its own against and warding off the many fierce predators of its time, including flocks of Archaeops and even adolescent Tyrantrum. A particularly spectacular find is the so-called fighting dinosaurs fossil from the early 70s, which provides a prehistoric snapshot of a Bastiodon and Archaeops locked into combat. Apparently desperate for food, Archaeops engaged the adolescent Bastiodon in an attempt to reach the Pokémon's vulnerable neck and underside with its deadly claws, while the Bastiodon managed to bite and break the aggressor's right arm. It is thought that a sudden sand flow buried the Pokémon mid-battle, preserving both parties in a sensational prehistoric action scene. As can be expected from their close phylogenetic relationship, Rampardos and Bastiodon do share multiple underlying features despite their drastically opposite appearances. Where Rampardos shows some signs of a primitive chewing capacity, Bastiodon actually possesses highly sophisticated adaptations to chewing, with large dental batteries in the back of its mouth acting like scissors to shred plant matter. This allowed Bastiodon to break down the sparse fibrous vegetation of its arid habitat extremely efficiently, including the new and uprising grass, which certainly was an important contributor to the species' success. Another interesting aspect displayed by both lines is the significant form change they underwent while growing up, something that has proven to be quite confusing when interpreting and classifying the fossil records of the species. Observations on revived specimens confirmed that the juvenile form, Shieldon, started out with a smooth rounded head shield that gradually became more squarish and rugged as it matured, while the horns and tusks grew larger and more defined, though they did not serve any offensive or defensive purpose at any point in the maturing process. The over 1 meter, 3.3 feet, tall frills of the adult Bastiodon were adorned with several smaller hornlets and covered in colored markings and were certainly a magnificent sight to behold. Besides acting as an intimidation tool against potential predators, the shield's appearance is also thought to have played a vital part in intra-species communication and recognition. This social function has sparked lots of contemporary discussion due to recent discoveries of concentration deposits holding hundreds of Bastiodon fossils, supporting the notion that Bastiodon formed giant herds comparable to those of modern wildebeests and zebras. According to some estimations, those megaherds encompassed thousands of individuals and performed extensive seasonal migrations, complex defensive formations, and elaborate mating rituals. How exactly these prehistoric Pokémon were able to engage in such multi-layered social behavior despite their seemingly small and primitive brains is still one of the great questions of paleontology that remain to be answered. How exactly these prehistoric Pokémon were able to engage in such multi-layered social behavior despite their seemingly small and primitive brains is still one of the great questions of paleontology that remain to be answered.